Mm. Well, it's falling down. All right, now we're going. So I'm here with Shawn. Shawn just finished a workout. That's why he's in his car. And we're social distancing because often I bring people into the studio. And so, Shawn, I wanted to talk to you because you are the owner of The Alley, one of Murfreesboro's most favorite restaurants. And you're being affected totally by this COVID-19 outbreak. And how is it affecting your business?
Well, starting about 2 weeks ago when all this came out, I mean, we went 50 to 75% down in dine-in business. And at that point, I think it hit the weekend, that Sunday or Monday, Christy and I were talking, what are we going to do? Cause you still have the mortgage on the building. You still have utilities. We have employees we got to pay. And so what's next? And so when it started to crash, we were very blessed and fortunate that we had a food truck built and completed about a month and a half ago.
Wow.
So we had just gotten this thing, and it was a Sunday or Monday, and we said, hey, what if we took this out to neighborhoods? Would that work? And so that came on a Sunday or Monday. We met with our crew on a Wednesday, and I believe Wednesday night was the first night we were going into the reserve. So 2 days later, we already had a neighborhood booked. And we told the crew, we said, I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if this is going to work. We're going to do whatever we can to try to get you guys paid. For us, we didn't need a check. We have food in the restaurant, and we just had to break even. And so the cool thing about that day, man, we found out what a family we really are from our crew, because we gave them all an option. We said, Amazon is working, Amazon is hiring, General Mills is hiring. If you guys want to go somewhere and get some temporary work, you can. But when this is over, please come back. And we even took our core group, we have 10 or 12, and including the manager, and said, look, this is again what we're going to try to do, and you're not going to offend us if you want to go and get something steady and guaranteed. And every single one of them looked right at us and said, no, we're gonna stick this out. We're gonna see what happens. And so, hell, man, I'm emotional, so of course I cried. And but man, it has been the food truck has saved our business. We would not be able to sustain just from the to-go business. The to-go business is great. People, the loyalty of our guests has blown us away. There are folks that have come in every single day to come and support us, whether it be for lunch or dinner. And so you find out real quick what an amazing community that we have. The way these guys have taken care of our staff in tips, it has been unreal. And so it's, unfortunately, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of restaurants across the country that aren't gonna come out of this. But I feel like with the crew we have and keeping its shoulders together and just grinding, I feel like if we keep going the rate we're going, we're going to be okay. And without too much damage.
So is this your first time owning a restaurant?
It is.
Okay. Wow. Yep. So have you ever owned a business before this?
No. I've operated though.
Wow.
Yeah, this thing here, this food truck, what we've been doing the last 2 weeks, it's all been shooting from the hip. And so, but when you've got a crew like we have, people that are just willing to work, everybody's working harder and kind of getting outside the box. And so it makes it easier.
People were when I mentioned that I'd be interviewing you, they wanted to know, how do you train your staff? Do you just have like a really tough hiring process? Like, are you just lucky? What is it?
No, so everybody gets vetted. I sit down with every employee that comes through the door, and so either Christy or myself. And so we look that there's something intangible that we look for in each and every candidate. If you were to take our 60 employees and put them shoulder to shoulder and talk to each and every single one of them, they all have pretty much the same disposition or personality, same attitude. I'll hire attitude and personality over talent. I can teach you to take an order and upsell and how to carry a tray and how to cook. I could teach you all that, but I can't teach you how to treat other human beings. And so we look for that first. We're very team oriented, and we tell everybody in an interview, every single person that sits in front of me hears this. If you have a good attitude, a good work ethic, this will be one of the best jobs you ever had. If you have a poor attitude and a poor work ethic, it will absolutely be one of the worst jobs you ever had.
We're
blunt, we talk about things. We don't tolerate a whole lot. And so, and people get that. And most employees, I used to fix restaurants for other groups, for bigger companies. And so most places want somebody in charge, and they want order and discipline. Anytime I've gone into a restaurant that was having issues, it was because nobody was taking the reins.
Okay.
Kind of the crew was running the show. And so when that happens and somebody comes in that starts taking control, and all these folks, they knew all the systems before they got there. There were systems in place. They just weren't being utilized. Nobody was holding anybody accountable. And your great employees want that structure.
You can't hear Shawn?
That discipline.
They can't hear you. Oh, well. We'll just keep going. I'm recording it. It's okay.
But you can hear me?
I can hear you, so that's all that matters.
You can hear me? Yeah. Okay. Okay. But so when you go in and you go to these places and you want and they're yearning for this structure, it immediately changes. Your good people kind of step up. They elevate their game, and the ones that were kind of running the show and doing whatever they wanted, they fall to the wayside, and then they end up terminating themselves by the end of it. But we look for those guys. We look for all the A players, and then we want those A players to bring in their friends who are A players.
Right.
And so we've been very blessed in that regard. We don't have to hunt down employees very often. It's when we get somebody, they're typically around a while.
Where are you from exactly, Shawn?
Denora, Pennsylvania, about 30 miles south of Pittsburgh.
Is that Amish country?
No.
No. I wasn't sure.
It's coal miner country. So it's, back in the day, it was an old steel town in the 50s. And so all that had shut down. And I want to say there were, in probably the 60s, maybe 50s, 60s, there were 50,000 people in my town. And when I grew up, there were about 3,000 or 4,000 in the town.
Wow.
And then once the steel industry shut down, the coal mining went away. My dad was a coal miner. And once all that went away, it was just a little town again.
Yeah. Wow. What were you known for in high school? Were you a football player, or
I played up until 10th grade, played sports, and but that was it. I don't know that I was known for anything. Having fun. I had a good time in high school.
Oh, that's good. Did you go to college?
I did. I went to Duquesne University in Pittsburgh.
All right.
Small private school, but when I got there, I started making every poor decision a young man at 18 and 19 could make. And so after about a year, Duquesne said, "Hey, we've had enough of you, Mr. Hackinson. You can move along now."
Wow.
It's been fun, but go ahead.
And so then where'd you go?
Man, I kind of, after that, I spiraled. I went south pretty fast.
Okay.
And I, couch surfed with some friends. My mom, like I said, I was making every poor decision you can make. And my mom said, wasn't allowed to go back home. She said, if you want, and she's an old school Italian mother. So she said, if you need to eat, of course you can come here, but that's it. You know, I don't want you in the house if this is what you're doing to yourself. And so,
My parents gave me the same talk. I get it.
yeah. And so at that time, man, I didn't realize it, but that was probably the best thing that had ever happened to me. Because when the one person that loves you the most tells you, you know, you're out, it makes you open your eyes. And probably 2 weeks later, I called a cousin in Houston. I had a bunch of cousins that migrated to the Houston area from the late 70s, early 80s on until I was the last one in 98. I called my cousin Ken and said, look, man, I got to get out of here. I can't keep doing this to myself. And so Ken flew me down. He got me a plane ticket, and I went to Houston with $30 in my pocket. And it took me a while, you know, to get my head on straight. But, you know, finally I had. And I was in Houston. I was working 3 jobs. I was working with Bank One in the morning. So I'd get on a bus at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, come home at about 4:30, take another bus over to a gym where I'd do payments and clean up the gym and finish that at about 10. And on Fridays or Saturdays and Sundays, I would work at a restaurant called Canyon Cafe. So I was just back then.
Wow.
Man,
working man.
Just staying busy, man, trying to keep myself out of trouble. And my brother called me, and he was in Clarksville. So he was in at Fort Campbell, and they're about to ship him to Korea. And so he called and said, hey, I got to go to Korea, but he had this mortgage business. And so he said, can you come out here and watch it for a year? I'll pay for you to get your real estate license. You keep 100% of the real estate, but we'll split the mortgage side. And so I didn't have anything tying me down in Houston, so I said, why not? And so I come out, and I knew I was only coming for the year. I loved Houston, and I wanted to get back to Houston. And so
not many people say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it now. If you're single or married without kids, Houston's a great place. It's not a place for family. But once I come out here, 6 months into it, I'm in a bar in Nashville with some friends, and there's these 2 girls sitting out on the patio. And so I go up, start talking to them. Well, that was 2001. And so it was Christy. And so that's how Christy and I met. So she still had to graduate. We met Cinco de Mayo. And so she was graduating in December. And we waited for her to graduate, and then we both moved back to Houston. And I didn't know what I was going to do. You know, I'd always worked in restaurants. I didn't know what was next for me. And so when we got to Houston, I was waiting tables at Red Lobster, and one of the managers, Paul, had said, man, why don't you get into management? And I wasn't doing anything else. And I said, sure, you know, why not? And when I did, I found out that, you know, there was passion again. You know, I was good at it. I enjoyed it. I was good at the number side, the system side. And in about a year and a half, I was promoted and had my first store. And then it kind of just went from there.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So you've been in the restaurant business for over 20 years then, basically.
Since I was 14. I'm 42 now. So
you put some time in.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, what I think is most impressive about you and Christy is when you guys started the alley, you just dove into the community. You've been willing to give back, and you've just built these really great, you know, as I just sit and watch, right? You've built these really great relationships. And I think that's got to be part of why you're successful, right? You build good relationships with your staff and then also with the community.
Yes. You know, for us, at least for me, the give back part is really, you know, when I was being a knucklehead and I was making all them poor life decisions, there were a lot of people that helped me and put their hands out and helped when I didn't deserve it. I didn't appreciate it. And, you know, man, you'll never forget those people. Even, you know, we grew up, whenever I tell this story, there's always one guy I think of, our pharmacist in town. We grew up poor. And so if we needed prescription, you know, Harry Mar Hefka would allow my mom to pay for that prescription over time. And even if she
Wow.
couldn't pay it off and she needed another one, she would, he never told her no. And there are people like that, that had helped me or helped us along the way that it's almost like a thank you for those guys.
Sure.
Because we've been there, we know what it's like. And so, but man, and it makes you feel good too. It feels
Right.
good to be able to do something for somebody and not expect anything in return, and just do it because it's the right thing to do.
So, how long do you think that this is going to? Do you have any word on when you guys are going to be able to open back up and go normal?
I don't. I am expecting this to go for probably 4 to 6 more weeks.
Wow.
And I mean, that's just chatter. There isn't anything that anyone had told me, but when you look at, hospitals, I think certain folks aren't operating for a certain period of time till maybe middle of April. Their schools are out until the end of April. So I don't see that. I don't see us changing before
that,
those dates.
Right.
But ours for us, I mean, Christy and I are now working 14, 15-hour days again. So we had to call reinforcements and bring my mom in.
Wow.
So we see the kids a few minutes in the morning, and then we see them a couple of minutes at night, and we look forward to Sundays.
I bet. Let's see. So, if somebody wants to get your guys' food truck to come out to their neighborhood, how do they do that?
You can message through Facebook. Christy is doing all the scheduling and setting that up. I know we are booked until April 26th, I believe, April 24th or 26th. And we do it 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 4 to 8 p.m. And we feed. You have to call once your neighborhood is on the schedule. A few days prior, you'll start calling orders in, and you'll pick your time slot, first come, first serve. And we feed 2 to 3 families every 15 minutes. And so we kind of want to control that so it's smooth. And but yeah, so Christy will get back in touch with folks and get them on the schedule.
How's a night inside that food truck compared to a night inside the restaurant?
Man, it's easier because you know exactly what's coming up. And the drop times are, we were talking about it last night. It is a very well-oiled machine right now. It's our second week doing it. And so it's much easier than being in the restaurant. But you're in a tight space. It's loud. You've got the generator going, and there's a little more downtime in the truck than there is at the shop because they're just continuously coming in, and you don't know what's coming in.
Right.
And so here we know exactly what we're making when and exactly when to drop it. So it's a little easier, but it's more fun too. I think the crew loves it. It's something different. So they're having a good time.
What are the margins compared to? Because I know that margins are razor thin in the restaurant business. Are they still razor thin in the food truck business?
No, the margins are a little bit better just because there's no waste.
Gotcha.
You still have labor costs, and you have all that stuff, but you don't there's not, exactly what you're putting out. So
I see.
In the restaurant, I have to keep so much inventory on hand because we don't know what folks are going to order. So we have, we'll set pars. And so our par is what we went through, the week before plus 20% because you're not going to sell the same exact thing week in and week out. And so here you don't have to do that. I know exactly what I need to order and there's no waste to it.
All right. So you guys run a restaurant at home and you've got kids at home, or like you run a restaurant and then you got kids at home. And so I know that having a bunch of kids is like having a restaurant at times, like what's dinner like at your guys' house?
Man, it's chaotic in the beginning because you're yelling for everybody to get the table ready and do what they need to do. Everybody has their chore before dinner. And then, man, we eat at home a lot. We are big on kind of FaceTime and sitting at the table. But for us, it's people cracking up on each other. We make fun of each other, and try to talk about the day and would you laugh about that day, and it's more about Huck. Huck tries to make it all about him, and so and then it's chaos afterwards, and everybody has their chores to clean up and do their thing before
I've got to
bed.
start incorporating more chores into it. I like that you've got one before dinner and after. That's a good idea.
Oh man, I told the boys they were still in school. We were driving, we were going to school in the morning, and the night before, it was snow. It was sleeting out. So it was a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow, and they got in the truck in the morning to go to school, and I said, hey, I didn't have 3 boys, so I can take the trash out. And it went, wow, it's sleeting outside at 10 o'clock at night. You guys got jobs. You need to do them.
That's awesome. I love
No,
it.
but they're good. They're good boys. My oldest, I'm gonna show a little love to my oldest boy. I had to cut the grass in the rain last Sunday just because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get to it for the whole week. And so I'm cutting the grass. I at least get the front done, and I said I'll worry about the back next week. And that next day, it was either the next day or the day after that, my oldest went out there and cut it himself.
Wow.
I don't know what
awesome.
he's looking for. I feel like he's going to ask me for something here this week, but I
He's
told him,
after it,
man, that is the nicest thing you have ever done for me.
That's great, man. Yeah, if you get busy, man, the grass gets tall. That's for sure, Well, is there anything else you want to share with people?
Man, just a huge thank you. The support that we've received from the community has been, it's been overwhelming. And, we talk about it just about every day as a staff, as a group, just how blessed we are with our guests. They every day they are surprising us in a different way. But it has been eye-opening to see how much people love the restaurant, love our people. It's been incredible. We didn't expect this. And these guys are literally keeping our business afloat. And we try to tell them when they're picking up orders, especially on the truck, they just don't realize how much this means to us and our staff. And I don't know if we can say that enough.
It's rough out there right now for a lot of people. And so I had dinner with off your truck last night. So I highly suggest everyone give it a try, man. It's really good.
Well, we appreciate it, man. We really do.
All right. Well, thanks for making time for me. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to end this now. All right.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
Shawn.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good talking.